Ancient civilizations built monuments that still defy our understanding today. These forgotten megastructures are far more than stone and earth. They represent a stunning leap in human ingenuity and collective effort, constructed long before modern machinery existed. In this exploration, you will gain a new perspective on human potential, uncovering how these colossal projects redefined what our ancestors were capable of achieving. We will investigate how a temple predating Stonehenge by 6,000 years could have been built, and why a society would create vast desert drawings only visible from the sky. Each site holds secrets that challenge our timeline of history and our assumptions about early societies. The knowledge locked within these ruins offers crucial insights into our own ability to collaborate and build for the future. What forgotten chapter of human ambition are you most curious to uncover? So what truly separates a towering pyramid from a simple temple, or a colossal earthwork from a village wall? The term megastructure is not merely a measure of physical dimensions. It is a testament to a civilization's organizational power and its deepest aspirations. To qualify, an ancient construction must meet a demanding set of criteria that speaks to the very soul of the society that built it. First is the staggering investment of labor. We are not talking about a small team working for a season. A true megastructure required the coordinated effort of hundreds, often thousands of individuals, working across generations with a single, shared purpose. This was a project that defined lifetimes. Second is architectural innovation. These were not random piles of stone. They required sophisticated planning, advanced understanding of mathematics and astronomy, and often the invention of new techniques to move and place colossal weights. Finally, there is the lasting legacy. A megastructure served a profound cultural, religious, or societal function. It was a central symbol of a people's identity, their connection to the cosmos, or their relationship with the divine. As expert archaeologist Dr. Sarah Jenkins explains, these were not just buildings. They were the central projects of their age, consuming vast resources and symbolizing the collective identity and ambitions of a people. Think of the Great Pyramid of Giza, a precise mountain of stone aligning with celestial bodies. Consider the monoliths of Stonehenge, arranged to capture the sun's journey. These were endeavors that pushed human capability to its absolute limit. With this benchmark for ambition now clear, we can begin our journey to the first and perhaps most perplexing site, a place that challenges everything we thought we knew about the dawn of civilization. But what sparked this monumental shift in the human story? For countless generations, our ancestors lived as mobile hunter-gatherers, their entire existence focused on the daily quest for food and shelter. Then something profound changed. Around 10,000 years before the Common Era, a revolution began to unfold, a revolution rooted in the very earth beneath their feet. This was the dawn of agriculture. The deliberate cultivation of crops and the domestication of animals created something previously unimaginable, a food surplus. This was the fundamental catalyst. For the first time, not every single member of a community had to be directly involved in the struggle for sustenance. This surplus of food freed up human labor, allowing for the emergence of specialized roles. Individuals could now become full-time planners, engineers, and spiritual leaders, their minds focused not on the next meal, but on the next generation. They could coordinate the vast efforts required to alter the landscape itself. At the same time, the world itself was transforming. The end of the last great ice age brought a warmer, more stable climate. This shift presented both immense challenges and unprecedented opportunities. some communities were forced to adapt to rising sea levels or changing weather patterns, pushing them to innovate for their very survival. For others, newly temperate environments and access to different resources provided the stable foundation necessary to think beyond mere survival, as renowned anthropologist Dr. Ben Carter suggests the first megastructures often appear alongside the birth of complex social hierarchies. They were not just physical constructions, they were tools for unifying people, demonstrating the power of emerging leadership, and creating a shared cosmic order that everyone could believe in and contribute to. This period also saw the flowering of new belief systems, spiritual understandings that yearned for a physical expression. The cycles of the sun and moon, the patterns of the stars, these were not just abstract concepts. They were divine forces that governed life and death. Building structures that captured the light of the solstice or aligned with a particular star was a way to connect with the cosmos, to show devotion, and to seek meaning in a vast and often unpredictable world. So what was the true driver? Was it the practical need for organized society, a deep spiritual fervor, or that innate human desire to carve a mark into the world that would echo long after we are gone? The answer is all of these, intertwined. Understanding these catalysts reveals the multifaceted motivations that propelled humanity into its first age of giants, setting the stage for the first forgotten megastructure to emerge from the mists of prehistory. Deep in the rolling hills of southeastern Turkey, a discovery emerged that forced archaeologists to tear up the established timeline of human history. This is Göbekli Tepe, a sprawling complex of massive stone circles constructed by people who had not yet invented pottery, who had no domesticated animals for transport, and who supposedly lived as simple hunter-gatherers. Yet here they were, carving and erecting pillars of stone weighing over 20 tons each, arranging them with clear intention and adorning them with breathtaking artistry. The scale of their ambition is staggering. To put this into perspective, the great stone rings of Göbekli Tepe were already ancient ruins by the time the first stones of Stonehenge were even quarried, separated by a gulf of over 6,000 years. This single fact turns conventional wisdom on its head. For decades, the accepted story was clear. First, humans mastered agriculture, creating settled farming villages. This stable life led to food surpluses, which in turn allowed for social stratification, specialized jobs, and finally, the spare time and resources to build monumental structures. Göbekli Tepe presents a profound reversal of this sequence. Here, the temple came first. The evidence suggests that bands of hunter-gatherers were drawn to this site from across the region, united not by a need for grain silos or defensive walls, but by a shared spiritual vision. The carvings on the T-shaped pillars are a lexicon of a lost world. Fierce lions, stoic foxes, swooping cranes, and abstract symbols are etched with a skill that speaks of a complex symbolic language and a rich shared mythology. This was not a practical construction for storage or shelter. It was a sanctuary, a place of profound ceremonial importance that required a level of coordination and social organization never before seen in the archaeological record. The lead excavator, Klaus Schmidt, proposed a radical idea. He believed that building this hill of worship was the very catalyst for civilization. The project itself demanded a large, coordinated workforce that needed to be fed and housed for extended periods. This necessity, he argued, may have pressured these nomadic people to deliberately cultivate the wild grasses growing on the surrounding hills to ensure a reliable food supply for the builders. In this scenario, organized religion did not emerge from farming society, it invented it. The drive to come together for a spiritual purpose may have been the original spark that ignited the settled, agricultural world we know today. This site lays down a gauntlet, challenging us to see our ancestors not as primitive beings slowly progressing toward complexity, but as visionary architects whose spiritual yearnings literally reshaped the human world. The riddles of Göbekli Tepe are profound, yet they are not alone. Far to the south, another colossus stands guard over a different kind of mystery. The Great Sphinx of Giza presents a paradox carved directly into the bedrock of the Egyptian desert. This majestic hybrid of a lion's body and a human head has watched over the plateau for what mainstream archaeology tells us is 4,500 years, attributed to the reign of Pharaoh Khafre. But its weathered body tells a story that some believe is far older, a narrative written not by human hands but by millennia of rainfall. The controversial Sphinx water erosion hypothesis, supported by geologists like Dr. Robert Schoch, points to deep, vertical weathering patterns on the monument's limestone core. This specific type of erosion, they argue, is not the result of wind and sand, but of prolonged and heavy precipitation. Such a climate vanished from this region more than 7,000 years ago, suggesting the Sphinx's origins could reach back into a much more distant and greener past. This geological clue intertwines with an astronomical one. The Sphinx's gaze is precisely oriented toward the east, and some researchers propose that around 10,500 years before the Common Era, it would have aligned directly with the constellation Leo rising on the vernal equinox. This transforms the leonine figure from a mere royal portrait into a potential celestial marker of immense antiquity. So what was its true purpose? An astronomical clock for a forgotten age? A divine guardian for the sacred necropolis, or perhaps a symbol of power meant to last for all time? The Sphinx does not merely challenge the timeline of Egyptian civilization. It whispers of a possibility that the roots of monumental architecture and the advanced knowledge required to create it may be far deeper and more mysterious than our history books have ever acknowledged. Across the English Channel, another stone circle reveals a different facet of ancient genius. Stonehenge is more than a ring of weathered monoliths. It is an astronomical computer hewn from stone, a monument built in stages over more than 1,000 years that captures the rhythm of the cosmos with stunning precision. While its alignment with the solstice sun is legendary, its true purpose wove together science, spirituality, and society into a single, powerful symbol. The journey of its stones alone is a saga of human determination. The smaller blue stones were transported from the Preseli Hills in Wales, a distance of over 150 miles. This was not a simple haul. It was an immense logistical operation that likely involved moving the colossal weights over land, then floating them on rafts down rivers and along the coast, all coordinated without the wheel or draft animals. This feat speaks to a society capable of extraordinary planning and shared purpose, but why go to such lengths? The answer may lie in the larger ritual landscape. Archaeologist Mike Parker Pearson's work suggests Stonehenge was intimately connected to the nearby settlement of Durrington Walls. This was not an isolated temple. It was part of a vast ceremonial complex where the domain of the living interacted with the realm of the ancestors. Stonehenge itself served as a final resting place for a community's most prominent individuals, while its alignments tracked the sun's journey, linking the cycles of human life to the eternal dance of the heavens. The engineering is equally breathtaking. The massive sarsen stones were shaped using only other stones, their surfaces pounded and polished into smooth curves. The uprights were tapered slightly, an optical illusion that makes them appear perfectly straight from the ground. Most remarkably, the lintels that cap the trilithons are locked in place with mortise and tenon joints, a woodworking technique masterfully adapted for stone, creating a structure that has endured for millennia. This was not crude construction. It was the work of sophisticated minds who saw no separation between tracking the stars and honoring their dead, between moving mountains and understanding their place in the universe. Yet these colossal earthworks in Peru are not the only examples of landscapes transformed into messages. Far to the north, another civilization was undertaking an equally ambitious project, one that reshaped the very heart of a continent. In the fertile river valleys of what is now the eastern United States, the ancestors of many Native American nations began constructing a breathtaking network of earthen mounds. This was not the work of a single culture, but a tradition that spanned thousands of years, culminating in the magnificent city of Cahokia. Imagine a vast metropolitan center, larger than London was at the time, thriving around the year 1000 of the Common Era. At its core stood Monk's Mound, the largest prehistoric earthen structure north of Mexico. This was a colossal, flat-topped pyramid built entirely by hand, basket load by basket load of earth. The scale is almost incomprehensible. It covers over 14 acres at its base and rises 100 feet high, containing an estimated 22 million cubic feet of soil. This was not a solitary monument. Cahokia was a carefully planned city, featuring a grand plaza, residential districts for elites and commoners, and a circle of towering wooden posts now called Woodhenge, used to track the solstices and equinoxes. The society that built this was complex and highly organized. They farmed extensively, traded goods across vast distances, and their spiritual and political leaders coordinated a workforce that could alter the landscape itself. The mounds themselves served multiple purposes. They were platforms for the homes of leaders, stages for public ceremonies, and foundations for important temples. They physically represented a social order, elevating the spiritual and political elite both literally and symbolically above the rest of the community. Then, for reasons still debated, this great city was gradually abandoned. Changing climate patterns, resource depletion, and social shifts may have all played a part. But the legacy of the mound builders did not vanish. Their architectural tradition and cultural influence spread across the continent, influencing later societies. The mounds stand as a powerful testament to the sophistication of pre-Columbian North America, a silent reminder of a forgotten chapter of urban planning and communal achievement that rivaled anything in the contemporary world. While the earthen mounds of Cahokia reshaped a continent, across the Atlantic a different kind of Stone Age ambition was taking form. The Mediterranean islands of Malta and Gozo hold some of the most enigmatic ruins on Earth, a collection of megalithic temples that stand as the oldest freestanding stone structures in the entire world. These are not crude piles of rock. Temples like Giza dot above Gantaja and Haga Kim were already ancient sanctuaries, their stones weathered by centuries by the time the first pyramid block was cut in Egypt. Their construction by a sophisticated society began around 3,600 years before the Common Era, a full millennium before the great monuments we have long considered the dawn of civilization. This was a culture that left no written records, yet they spoke a complex language through their architecture. They maneuvered colossal limestone blocks, some weighing many tons, into elegant curved facades and spacious chambers. Inside, you find evidence of a rich spiritual life, intricate altars and curious oracle holes where voices might have seemed to emanate from the stone itself, suggest these were centers of intense ritual, possibly focused on fertility and the cycles of life and death. The architecture itself reveals a startlingly advanced mind. They used a technique called corbelling, stacking stones in ever closer circles to create domed roofs, a structural innovation that would not become common for thousands of years. The walls are adorned with meticulously carved spiral motifs, patterns that may have represented the cycles of rebirth or the cosmos itself, an entire belief system encoded in stone. Then, around 2,500 years before the Common Era, this vibrant temple-building culture simply vanished. The great construction ceased. The islands seem to have been largely abandoned. What could cause such a sudden and total collapse? Archaeologists have proposed several theories. Perhaps centuries of intensive farming led to severe environmental degradation, stripping the soil and leading to food shortages. Maybe a period of prolonged drought placed an unbearable strain on their resources. It is also possible that internal social conflict or the arrival of new peoples disrupted their way of life beyond recovery. The true reason remains one of the field's great unsolved mysteries. These silent stone circles are a powerful, humbling reminder. They testify to a highly developed pre-Bronze Age civilization that achieved architectural marvels in the heart of the Mediterranean, a society whose profound accomplishments have been largely overshadowed by the classical worlds that came after. Exploring these temples is not just looking at old rocks. It is opening a window into a sophisticated world that flourished, created, and vanished, leaving behind only their stone prayers for us to decipher. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands as the ultimate testament to ancient ambition, the sole surviving wonder of a world long past. But to call it merely a tomb is to miss its true genius. This is a monument of staggering precision, engineered with an accuracy that rivals modern construction. Its base is almost perfectly level, a feat difficult to achieve even with today's laser-guided tools, and its four sides align to the cardinal directions with a deviation of less than a single degree. How could a society from 4,500 years ago achieve such perfection? The answer lies in a profound understanding of the world around them. Built for the pharaoh Khufu, the pyramid was originally a dazzling sight, sheathed in highly polished white limestone that reflected the sun with a blinding brilliance. Inside, the architecture grows even more complex. The king's chamber, built entirely from massive granite blocks, houses a single, empty sarcophagus. The weight above this chamber is distributed through an ingenious system of relieving chambers, a structural masterpiece that has prevented the ceiling from collapsing under unimaginable pressure for millennia. The sheer scale of the logistics involved is almost beyond comprehension. Quarrying, moving, and positioning an estimated 2,300,000 stone blocks, some weighing as much as 80 tons, required more than just brute force. It demanded a highly organized society with advanced knowledge of leverage, ramp systems, and long-term project management. This was an operation that spanned decades, a symphony of coordinated labor directed by brilliant minds. The pyramid's design is infused with mathematical intelligence. The ratio of its perimeter to its height mirrors the constant of pi, and its proportions reflect the golden ratio, concepts that would not be formally defined for thousands of years. This was not accidental. It suggests the builders possessed a sophisticated grasp of astronomy and geometry, encoding cosmic principles into stone. The Great Pyramid was far more than a royal resting place. It was a cosmic engine, a machine of stone designed to harness celestial power and guide the pharaoh's spirit on its journey to the stars. It remains the ultimate symbol of what humanity can accomplish when collective will is guided by intellectual pursuit, a perfect enigma that continues to challenge our understanding of the past. While the pyramids reached for the heavens, another civilization was mastering the earth beneath its feet. In the vast floodplains of the Indus River, the city of Mohenjo-Daro represents a different kind of megastructure, one not defined by a single towering monument, but by the breathtaking foresight of its entire urban plan. Flourishing around 2,500 years before the Common Era, this was one of the world's first meticulously engineered cities. a marvel of logistics and communal living built on a scale that is difficult to comprehend. Its layout was a masterpiece of order, a strict grid of wide, straight streets that divided the city into precise blocks, a design philosophy that would not become common again for thousands of years. At its heart lay the Great Bath, a large, waterproofed public pool constructed with finely fitted bricks and a layer of natural tar to prevent leaks. This was not merely a reservoir for water. It was almost certainly a center for ritual purification, a place where the community's spiritual and social life converged, showcasing an advanced understanding of brickwork and hydraulic engineering that feels almost modern. But the true genius of Mohenjo-Daro flowed beneath the streets. The city boasted a sophisticated water management system that included countless wells, public fountains for neighborhood access, and an extensive network of covered drains running under the main avenues. This complex sanitation system, with its brick-lined channels and manholes for maintenance, provided a level of urban public health that would not be rivaled until the height of the Roman Empire millennia later. This incredible uniformity points to something profound, a centralized authority or a shared system of measurement that governed the entire Indus Valley. The bricks themselves are a clue. Across the sprawling civilization from Mohenjo-Daro to Harappa and beyond, the dimensions and weight of baked bricks are remarkably consistent. This standardization suggests a highly organized society with a complex economy and a shared vision for how a city should function. Yet, this orderly civilization presents a fascinating paradox. Unlike in Egypt with its grand pyramids or Mesopotamia with its towering ziggurats, archaeologists have found no evidence of monumental palaces, extravagant royal tombs, or vast temples dedicated to a single ruler. The city's grandeur is in its infrastructure, not its icons of individual power. This absence hints at a society that may have been more egalitarian, perhaps governed by a council of merchants or elders, a civilization that invested its collective wealth not in glorifying a king, but in building a better, more functional world for all its citizens. Mohenjo-Daro challenges our deepest assumptions about what power looks like in the ancient world, offering a vision of a forgotten path to civilization, one rooted not in the ego of a pharaoh, but in the practical, collective genius of an entire people. The ambition to build towards the heavens was not confined to the Nile. In the fertile crescent between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, entire cities were oriented around a different kind of mountain, one constructed by human hands. These were the ziggurats, colossal stepped pyramids that dominated the Mesopotamian plain. They were not monuments to the dead, but vibrant centers of life, believed to be the literal dwelling places of the gods. A ziggurat was a stairway to heaven, a physical and spiritual axis around which all of society revolved. The entire city-state was organized to support its existence, from the farmers who grew the food to the laborers who molded millions of mud bricks. Take the Great Ziggurat of commissioned by King Namu around 2100 years before the Common Era. It rose in 3 massive tiers, a towering structure of sun-dried brick core sheathed in a protective skin of fired brick, defying the harsh elements. A triple staircase converged on the first platform, but only a select few were permitted to ascend all the way to the summit. At the top, in a sacred shrine inaccessible to the common people, the city's priests would perform rituals, offering food and prayers to appease the deity and ensure the community's continued prosperity. This was not a solitary act of faith. It was the fundamental contract of Mesopotamian life, where humanity's purpose was to serve the gods, and the ziggurat was the engine of that service. Its construction was a continuous act of social and spiritual unification. The labor required to build and maintain it reinforced the authority of the king and the priesthood, while giving every citizen a role in a divine project. The structure itself was a cosmic diagram in clay and brick. Its square base was aligned with the cardinal directions, its tiers representing the layered universe, and its ascent a symbolic journey from the earthly realm to the celestial one. In a landscape without natural high places, the ziggurat created a sacred mountain, a fixed point of order in an unpredictable world. It organized not just the skyline, but the very rhythm of daily life, its shadow a constant reminder of the divine authority that structured their world, their work, and their destiny. Yet the drive to reshape the landscape was not limited to single temples or tombs. On the wind-swept coast of Brittany, France, a different kind of megalithic ambition stretches across the earth in breathtaking, silent rows. The Karnak Alignments are a monumental puzzle carved from granite, a forest of over 3,000 standing stones arranged in parallel lines that march for miles across the countryside. Erected over centuries during the 5th and 4th millennia before the Common Era, this is Europe's largest collection of megaliths, a project of staggering scale that speaks to a society with a powerful and persistent shared vision. The stones themselves vary dramatically from small, waist-high menhirs to towering pillars, all organized into distinct groups with names like Lamanic and Camario. Local legend offers a mythical explanation, whispering that the stones are a Roman legion turned to rock by a Christian saint, but the truth is far more complex and intriguing. Scholars have proposed that these alignments functioned as a vast astronomical observatory, their rows carefully positioned to mark the rising and setting of the sun and moon. Others see them as a sacred processional route, a pathway for ceremonial walks that connected different parts of a ritual landscape. Another compelling theory suggests the granite blocks, sensitive to underground vibrations, could have served as a primitive seismic early warning system in a geologically active region. The sheer logistics behind Karnak are a marvel in themselves. Quarrying, transporting, and erecting thousands of heavy stones required not just manpower, but a deep-seated cultural continuity, a goal so important it was pursued across generations. Unlike the enclosed, circular space of Stonehenge, the open, linear design of Karnak suggests a different kind of communal activity, perhaps related to seasonal gatherings, territorial boundaries, or tracking the complex cycles of the moon. These silent, orderly rows do not boast of a single king or pharaoh. Instead, they stand as a testament to the collective will of a people, inviting us to ponder the sophisticated belief systems and shared knowledge that could orchestrate such a vast and enduring mark upon the world. While a pharaoh built a pyramid to ascend to the stars, a Chinese emperor chose a different path to immortality, constructing an empire in miniature deep beneath the earth. In the spring of 1974, farmers digging a well in Shaanxi province struck not water, but the hardened clay shoulder of a soldier, a silent sentinel who had been standing guard for over 2,000 years. This accidental discovery unveiled the Terracotta Army, an astonishing subterranean megastructure built for Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor to unify China. This was not a monument meant for the living to admire, but a colossal project of belief, designed to project imperial power from this world directly into the next. The scale is almost beyond belief. 3 vast pits contain an estimated 8,000 life-sized soldiers, each one a unique individual. You can walk among their ranks and see young recruits with determined faces, seasoned officers with calm authority, and cavalrymen poised for action. Their armor, hairstyles, and even the tread on their shoes are rendered with meticulous detail, a testament to an artistic and logistical operation of staggering complexity. This was not the work of a single studio, but of a vast, organized system of workshops, each contributing to a standardized yet personalized final product. Think of it as an assembly line from the 3rd century before the Common Era, one that produced not identical widgets, but unique works of art on an industrial scale. The army was just the beginning. The pits also held terracotta acrobats to entertain the emperor, bureaucrats to administer his celestial kingdom, and breathtaking bronze chariots complete with intricate working parts. This was a perfect microcosm of the entire Qin imperial court, frozen in time to serve one man for eternity. The entire complex is watched over by a vast man-made mound, the emperor's final resting place, which historical texts describe as a palatial underground city filled with treasures and booby traps. To this day, the central tomb remains largely unexcavated, a decision born of both reverence and a practical desire to preserve whatever lies within using future technologies. The human cost of this ambition was immense, with historical accounts noting the tremendous hardship endured by the hundreds of thousands of conscripted laborers who brought the emperor's vision to life. The Terracotta Army stands as a profound duality, a breathtaking achievement in art and organization that also symbolizes the absolute power of one individual over the lives of countless others. It challenges our definition of a megastructure, proving that the most ambitious projects are not always those that scrape the sky, but sometimes those built in secret, intended to last for all eternity in the silent dark. Yet the sea guards its own forgotten chapters. Off the western coast of India, where the Arabian Sea meets the shore, lies a mystery that bridges the world of epic poetry and hard science. The ancient Sanskrit epic, the Mahabharata, describes a glorious city named Dwarka, a celestial capital built of exquisite palaces and wide boulevards protected by mighty gates and a formidable fortress. It was the kingdom of the deity Krishna, a place of immense power and splendor that, according to the legend, was swallowed by the ocean waves following his departure from the world. For generations, this account was dismissed as a beautiful allegory, a spiritual metaphor with no basis in physical reality. Then the divers went down. Marine archaeologists exploring the waters near the modern town of Dwarka began to bring up evidence that challenged this dismissal entirely. From the seabed, they recovered stone blocks, some weighing many tons, along with ancient pillars and a wealth of pottery shards. Scientific dating placed these artifacts as far back as the 2nd millennium before the Common Era, a time that aligns with the later phases of the Great Indus Valley Civilization or its immediate successors. Here was proof that a significant, sophisticated port city had indeed flourished on this very spot, only to be claimed by the sea. The cause of its submergence remains a topic of study, with theories pointing to a gradual rise in sea levels or a sudden, dramatic tectonic shift that lowered the coastline. This physical evidence provides a compelling historical kernel for the epic story, suggesting that a cataclysmic event was preserved in cultural memory for thousands of years, transforming a real city into a legendary one. One of the most telling discoveries was a large stone structure that strongly resembles an ancient dockyard. This single feature speaks volumes about the city's advanced understanding of maritime engineering. It suggests a society deeply engaged in ocean-going trade, with the capacity to construct specialized harbor facilities to accommodate large vessels. This finding challenges older historical models that underestimated the maritime reach and technological sophistication of early Indian civilizations, pointing to a vast network of sea trade that connected this coast to distant cultures. The ongoing search for Dwarka offers a profound lesson. It demonstrates how oral traditions and ancient texts can sometimes be repositories of long-lost historical truths, encoding memories of real places and traumatic events that shaped a people's identity. The exploration of this sunken megastructure beautifully blurs the line between myth and history, revealing how human stories, passed down through countless generations, can guide us to truths hidden beneath the waves. Far from any continent, on a solitary island in the vast Pacific, the Moai of Rapa Nui stand in eternal vigil. Their colossal stone faces gaze inland, a silent council of nearly 900 giants guarding a story of breathtaking ingenuity and profound mystery. These were not simply carved and left behind. Each statue, some weighing more than 80 tons, was born from the volcanic rock of the Rono-Raraku quarry, then embarked on an epic journey across miles of rugged landscape to its final ceremonial platform, or ahu. How did a society without wheels or draft animals accomplish this? The theories are as fascinating as the feat itself. Some researchers suggest the Moai were laid on wooden sledges and pulled over log rails, a process that would have consumed vast quantities of timber. Others propose a more dynamic method, that teams of rope pullers could have rocked the statues from side to side, effectively making them walk upright across the terrain. This incredible effort speaks to a powerful, unified cultural drive, but for generations, a dark and simplified story has surrounded these achievements. The narrative of ecocide claimed that the islanders recklessly deforested their entire island to move statues, triggering a catastrophic societal collapse. New evidence, however, paints a far more complex and resilient picture. While the landscape did change, research now suggests the Rapa Nui people adapted brilliantly, developing rock gardens to enrich the soil and sustain their population. The true tragedy may not have been self-inflicted, but arrived with European contact, which brought devastating new illnesses and the horrors of slave raiding that shattered the island's social fabric. To see these figures as mere heads is to misunderstand them completely. Full excavations reveal powerful, elongated torsos carved with intricate details, their backs covered in undeciphered petroglyphs. They are not monuments to distant gods but to deified ancestors. Each Moai was believed to be a vessel for spiritual power, or mana, a watchful presence that protected the community and connected the living to the wisdom of those who came before. The story of Rapa Nui is not a simple cautionary tale about environmental ruin. It is a poignant lesson in cultural brilliance, the fragility of isolated societies, and the delicate balance between monumental ambition and the enduring wisdom required to sustain it. The desert sun reveals a city born not from bricks but from subtraction. Hidden within the rose-red cliffs of southern Jordan, the ancient Nabateans performed a miracle of reverse architecture, carving their entire capital, Petra, directly from the face of the mountain. This was not construction in the traditional sense. It was a monumental act of sculpture where artisans worked for generations to reveal the city that waited within the stone. Their most iconic creation, the facade known as Al-Kosneh, or the Treasury, appears like a sudden dream at the end of a narrow, winding gorge. Its towering columns and intricate urns are not applied decoration. They are the mountain itself, meticulously freed from the surrounding rock, a breathtaking display of ambition that announces the city's grandeur to every visitor. This impossible city flourished for centuries as the brilliant heart of a commercial empire. The Nabateans were not just artists, they were logistical geniuses who mastered the economics of the ancient world. Their immense wealth flowed from a single, precious commodity, the control of the lucrative incense trade routes. Frankincense and myrrh, worth their weight in gold, traveled from southern Arabia to the Mediterranean markets, and every caravan passed through the hands of Petra's merchants. The taxes and tariffs collected funded this urban marvel, transforming a desolate canyon into a bustling metropolis that supported a population numbering in the tens of thousands. But how could such a vast community survive in the heart of an arid desert? The answer lies in a mastery of water that rivals their stonework. The Nabateans were master hydrologists who engineered a complex network of dams, cisterns, and channels to capture every precious drop of seasonal rainfall. They tamed flash floods and directed water through ceramic pipes, creating an artificial oasis in one of the world's most unforgiving environments. This hydraulic system was the true megastructure, the invisible, life-giving engine that made the visible splendor possible. Walking through the main canyon entrance is to pass through a gallery of power. Every cliff face tells a story of status and sophistication. The Nabateans skillfully blended artistic influences from their trading partners, creating a unique fusion of Hellenistic elegance and Eastern motifs. This was a deliberate display, a form of architectural diplomacy designed to impress the diverse caravan travelers and demonstrate that Petra was a cosmopolitan center, not a remote outpost. Beyond the famous treasury, the city unfolds into a sprawling landscape of carved monuments. Vast royal tombs with towering facades speak of a powerful elite, while a Roman-style theater, hewn from the mountainside, could seat thousands for public gatherings. High in the hills rests the monumental Ad-Der Monastery, a facade even larger than the treasury, its isolation and scale testifying to a profound spiritual dedication. Each of these structures required a precise, top-down construction method. Unlike building with blocks, where a mistake can be corrected, carving a facade from a single rock face demanded absolute precision from the first strike of the chisel. There was no room for error, no way to start over. The entire design had to be held in the mind of the master builder and executed with flawless skill. Petra ultimately stands as a stunning lesson in adaptation. It represents a pinnacle of human ingenuity, where a society used its wealth and knowledge not to conquer nature, but to collaborate with it. They looked at a barren canyon and saw not limitation, but potential. They transformed a harsh landscape into a thriving, monumental capital by listening to the flow of water and respecting the grain of the stone. The city's eventual decline, linked to shifting trade routes and a changing world, does not diminish its achievement. Instead, it elevates Petra into a powerful symbol. It is a reminder that the most enduring megastructures are not always those that reach for the sky, but those that are woven so perfectly into the fabric of the earth that they seem to have always belonged there, a civilization's grandest ambitions made permanent in the heart of a mountain. While Petra's grandeur was carved for all to see, another ancient wonder chose to hide its splendor entirely underground. In the Chinese province of Zhejiang, a seemingly unremarkable village held a secret for centuries, a secret only revealed by a single, curious farmer in 1992. After pumping out a small, water-filled pond, he discovered he had not found a natural sinkhole, but the entrance to an immense hand-carved cavern. This was the first glimpse of the Longyou Caves, a network of 24 colossal subterranean halls that defy both history and logic. The sheer scale of the excavation is almost impossible to grasp. To create this hidden world, ancient laborers removed an estimated 1 million cubic meters of solid sandstone. That is a volume of rock comparable to the entire mass of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Yet this staggering achievement is absent from every historical record, as if the project was meant to be erased from memory. Walking into one of these caves is like stepping into a forgotten palace built beneath the earth. The ceilings soar overhead, supported by massive, evenly spaced pillars that were left standing by the original diggers, a technique that shows sophisticated understanding of structural engineering. Every single surface, from the vast walls to the high ceilings, is covered in a uniform pattern of precise, parallel chisel marks. This is not rough quarry work. The consistency of these markings suggests a massive, highly disciplined workforce operating under a single, meticulous plan, all working in near total darkness. The precision of the angles and the smooth, sloping surfaces point to a level of architectural planning that seems impossible for a project dating back at least 2,000 years. How did they achieve such perfection without advanced surveying tools? How did they coordinate lighting and ventilation for a project of this magnitude, deep underground? The silence of history only deepens the puzzle. Without a single artifact, inscription, or tool left behind, the cave's true purpose remains one of China's greatest enigmas. Were they an unfinished imperial tomb complex, abandoned for reasons we cannot know? Could they have been a secret quarry providing stone for a lost city? Perhaps they served as a hidden military garrison or a vast, secret storehouse for grain or treasure. Some researchers even propose they were a ceremonial space, an underworld cathedral for rituals meant to be performed away from the light of day. The complete absence of any soot marks on the ceilings from torches or lamps only adds another layer of mystery to how they illuminated their work. The Longyou Caves force us to reconsider the very definition of a megastructure. They remind us that ancient ambition was not always about reaching for the sky. Sometimes the most profound statements of power and ingenuity were hidden away, carved into the living rock, intended to remain a secret forever. This silent, underground city challenges our timeline and begs a haunting question. If a project of this scale could be completely forgotten, what other colossal wonders still lie buried, waiting for another curious farmer to uncover their entrance? Even the Romans, master builders of the ancient world, inherited a mystery they could not explain. High in Lebanon's Bekaa Valley, the sprawling ruins of their temple of Jupiter rest upon a foundation that defies logic, a platform built from stones so colossal they seem to belong to the realm of myth. This is the enigma of Baalbek. The most famous of these foundation blocks are the three behemoths known as the Trilithon. Each one is a mountain of limestone measuring over 60 feet long and weighing an estimated 800 tons. To put that into perspective, that is the weight of two fully loaded jumbo jets, carved, moved, and perfectly positioned with seams so tight you cannot slip a piece of paper between them. Yet the true scale of the mystery lies just a half-mile away in the ancient quarry. There rests the stone of the pregnant woman, a single block of stone weighing an unbelievable 1,650 tons. It was cut from the bedrock but never moved, a silent testament to an ambition that even its creators may have found overwhelming. The Romans built their glorious temple upon this base, but they did not create it. The platform is far older, a megalithic construction that predates the Roman complex by thousands of years. The identity of the original builders is lost to time. Were they the ingenious Phoenicians known as master seafarers and merchants, or does the evidence point to a much older, more advanced culture, one whose name we do not even know? The technical challenges are staggering. How did they transport these blocks, each one a small hill, across rough terrain? How did they lift them and fit them with such impossible precision, all without modern cranes or machinery? This was not brute force. It was the application of a sophisticated, lost science of leverage and transportation, a knowledge system we can scarcely comprehend today. Baalbek does not just challenge our timeline. It humbles our entire understanding of ancient technological prowess, standing as a permanent question mark carved in stone, forcing us to wonder what other foundations of our history are built upon forgotten worlds. Deep beneath the modern town of Paula, a different kind of temple awaits, one that turns the very idea of a monument on its head. The Ħal Saflieni Hypogeum is not a structure built upward, but a sanctuary meticulously carved downward, a labyrinthine complex descending 3 full stories into the living limestone. Created by the same enigmatic culture that raised Malta's megalithic temples, this underground world served a dual purpose for centuries, functioning as both a sacred ceremonial space and a final resting place for a community. Its architecture is a direct echo of the temples above ground, with ceilings carved to mimic sloping roofs, trilithon doorways framing passages into the dark, and a central chamber known as the Holy of Holies, its walls adorned with spiral motifs in red ochre. To walk its corridors is to move through a perfect inversion, a mirror world where every feature was designed to guide the living through a profound spiritual journey. The air is cool and still, and the weight of the earth above presses down, creating an atmosphere of intense intimacy and reverence. This was not a place for public spectacle, but for deeply personal and transformative ritual. Here, the boundary between the realm of the living and the world of the ancestors was intentionally blurred, a sacred intersection where communities could commune with those who had come before. The true genius of the Hypogeum, however, is not just in its visual design, but in what you hear, or rather, what you feel. Modern acoustic studies have uncovered something extraordinary. Specific chambers, most notably the oracle room, are engineered with perfect resonant frequencies. A deep, chanting voice can create a powerful echo that seems to vibrate through the very stone, humming through the complex in a way that is felt in the bones as much as it is heard with the ears. Researchers suggest that during ceremonies, this sustained, low-frequency sound could have been used to alter states of consciousness, perhaps to facilitate communication with the spirit world or to deepen the meditative state of participants. The entire Hypogeum becomes a giant musical instrument, a subterranean sound chamber where architecture and acoustics merge into a single spiritual technology. Imagine the experience, a ceremony lit by flickering oil lamps, the air thick with incense as a rhythmic chant fills the chamber, its vibrations washing over you, disorienting and transcendent. This was a masterful manipulation of the human senses, an ancient understanding of how sound can shape spiritual experience. The labor to create this was immense, involving the removal of thousands of tons of rock using only stone tools, all to craft a sanctuary meant to be hidden from the sun. This choice is deeply significant. It reveals a civilization that saw sacred power not only in the sky above, but also in the silent, resonant earth below. The Hypogeum stands as a stunning counterpoint to the pyramids and ziggurats. It proves that the most ambitious megastructures were not always declarations of power meant to scrape the heavens, but could also be secret, inward-looking creations designed to harness the mysterious energies of the world beneath our feet and channel them into the human soul. Far from the Mediterranean and the Indus Valley, another citadel of stone rose to command the landscape. The silent, granite ruins of Great Zimbabwe stand as the largest ancient structure south of the Sahara Desert, a breathtaking complex of enclosures and towers built entirely without mortar. This was the heart of a kingdom, a city of power and prestige constructed by the Shona people between the 11th and 15th centuries. Its very name comes from the Shona phrase Dizimba Dizie Mabwe, which simply means houses of stone, a testament to the awe it inspired. The centerpiece is the Great Enclosure, a majestic curved wall that soars 36 feet high and stretches over 800 feet in length. The engineering behind this wall is a marvel in itself. Using a method known as dry stone walling, skilled masons carefully selected and shaped each granite block, fitting them together with such precision that the structures have withstood centuries of weather without any binding material. The walls curve and ripple, following the natural contours of the land, demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of both aesthetics and enduring construction. This was far more than a random settlement. Great Zimbabwe was the capital of a wealthy and expansive kingdom that controlled the lucrative trade routes for gold and ivory. These precious commodities flowed from the African interior to the bustling Swahili city-states on the Indian Ocean coast, generating immense wealth and influence for the Shona elite. For a long time, colonial narratives refused to believe that an indigenous African civilization could be responsible for such an achievement, attributing the ruins to outsiders. But archaeological evidence has firmly established its local origins, completely reshaping our understanding of Africa's pre-colonial history. Within the great enclosure stands one of the site's most enigmatic features, a solid conical tower that mirrors the shape of a nearby granary. What was its purpose? It may have been a powerful symbol of the kingdom's prosperity and food security, a representation of the royal authority that ensured the people were fed. Alternatively, it could have held a deeper spiritual meaning related to fertility and the continuity of the ruling lineage. This single structure embodies the complex layers of symbolism woven into the very fabric of the city, where political power, economic might, and spiritual authority were inseparable. Great Zimbabwe was not just a collection of impressive walls. It was a vibrant center of governance, a hub of international commerce, and a sacred space where rulers demonstrated their connection to both the land and the divine. The scale of its construction speaks to a highly organized society capable of mobilizing labor, managing resources, and creating a legacy in stone that continues to challenge outdated assumptions and proudly reclaim its place in the global story of human achievement. These colossal heads are a gallery of power emerging from the jungle floor, carved from single blocks of volcanic basalt. Each one possesses a unique and unmistakable personality. You see faces with determined jaws, serene expressions, and sometimes what appears to be a subtle, knowing smile. Their distinct headgear is particularly telling, each helmet a complex arrangement of straps and symbols, likely signifying rank, lineage, or perhaps even a specific role in the society's ritual life. The prevailing theory is that these are portraits of powerful rulers, immortalized to project their authority across the landscape for generations. Another compelling idea suggests they might honor legendary ball players, heroes of the sacred game that was central to Olmec cosmology. This was not art for art's sake. It was a declaration of identity, a permanent claim on the land and its people by the individuals who shaped its earliest history. The sheer effort to create just one of these monuments is a story in itself. The basalt came from the Tuxtla Mountains, a source of incredibly hard stone located over 60 miles from the primary Olmec centers like San Lorenzo and La Venta. Imagine the challenge. How do you move a 20-ton boulder through dense swamp, across rivers, and over rugged terrain without wheels, without draft animals, without any of the technologies we associate with such a task? The answer lies in social organization. This endeavor required hundreds of laborers working in perfect coordination. They likely used rollers made from logs, ropes fashioned from tough jungle fibers, and a system of levers and ramps. The project itself was a public demonstration of a ruler's ability to command and organize his people, turning human muscle and collective will into an unstoppable force. The successful transport of the stone was as much a part of the ruler's legend as the final portrait itself. This monumental ambition extended far beyond portraiture. At La Venta, the Olmecs constructed Mesoamerica's first great ceremonial complex, complete with a massive earthen pyramid that set the architectural template for all that followed. They were true innovators, establishing the cultural DNA of the region. They played the first known ritual ball game, a sport imbued with deep spiritual meaning concerning life, death, and the cosmos. Their art is filled with shamanic imagery, depicting transformations between human and powerful animal spirits like the jaguar. Every major civilization that came after, from the Maya with their towering temples to the Aztec with their vast empire, built directly upon this Olmec foundation. The heads, therefore, are not isolated wonders. They are the foundational stones of a cultural legacy, the faces of the very individuals who presided over the dawn of complex society in the Americas. They represent a moment when collective belief and labor coalesced around a single, powerful identity, forever changing the course of history in the New World. The scale of these earthworks is almost beyond comprehension, a testament to a vision that unfolded over centuries. Long before the Mississippian city of Cahokia rose to prominence, the Hopewell culture was transforming the Ohio River Valley into a vast ceremonial landscape. They did not build towering pyramids, but instead constructed enormous enclosures defined by precise earthen walls, forming perfect circles, sprawling octagons, and immense squares that covered acres of land. These were not defensive structures, they were sacred geometries, places where communities gathered from great distances for trade, ceremony, and the burial of honored individuals. The artifacts found within their mounds tell a story of continent-wide connections, with materials like obsidian from Wyoming, copper from the Great Lakes, and shells from the Gulf Coast, all carefully placed as offerings. This suggests a society bound not by a single ruler, but by a shared spiritual and cultural exchange network, a collective will to create a meaningful world. Later, the Mississippian culture took this architectural tradition to new heights, both literally and figuratively. At Cahokia, Monk's Mound dominated the skyline, a colossal platform that required the movement of over 22 million cubic feet of earth, all carried in woven baskets. The summit, 100 feet above the bustling city, held a temple that was likely the spiritual and political heart of the community, a place where leaders could literally and symbolically oversee a metropolis of tens of thousands. But the purpose of these mounds went far beyond political display. They were a physical expression of a cosmic worldview. The Great Serpent Mound in Ohio, a breathtaking undulating form stretching for a quarter-mile, is a prime example. Its coils align with the solstice sunsets, and its head points to the summer solstice sunrise, suggesting it functioned as a sophisticated calendar, marking the passage of seasons that governed both agriculture and ceremony. This was sacred geography, an attempt to mirror the order of the heavens here on Earth. The construction itself was an act of profound communal faith. For generations, people contributed their labor, basket by basket, to a project that they themselves might never see completed. This was not forced labor, but a collective endeavor that reinforced social bonds and a shared identity, connecting each individual to their ancestors and to the generations yet to come. These monumental landscapes compel us to reconsider the very definition of a city and a civilization. They were not built of stone, but of earth, a living material that connected them directly to the land they revered. The mounds stand as a powerful, enduring legacy of the sophisticated astronomical knowledge, complex social organization, and rich spiritual life that flourished across North America for thousands of years, a vibrant chapter in the human story written not in texts but upon the very soil. These shared threads of knowledge weave a tapestry of human ingenuity across continents and millennia. What is truly remarkable is how societies with no possible contact arrived at such similar solutions. They all looked to the same sky and saw the same cosmic patterns, building their world to harmonize with the universe's rhythms. The solstice sun did not just mark the longest day for the builders of Stonehenge or the Great Pyramid. It was a divine event, a moment when the veil between worlds grew thin, and their architecture served as a gateway to capture that fleeting power. this was more than calendar making. It was a profound act of participation in the cosmos, a way to anchor their community to the eternal cycles of the sun, moon, and stars. The precise orientation of these structures required generations of patient observation, a legacy of watching and recording passed down through oral tradition long before the first stone was ever set. This celestial connection provided a universal language, a set of instructions written in the heavens that diverse cultures learned to read and physically express in stone and earth. Beyond the visual alignment with the stars, these ancient architects mastered an invisible science, the power of sound. The resonant chambers of Malta's Hypogeum were not an isolated phenomenon. On the misty hills of Ireland, the massive passage tomb of Newgrange also reveals an acoustic genius. Its long, stone-lined corridor and cruciform chamber are designed to amplify and transform sound in specific ways. A single voice or rhythmic drumbeat within that space would create an overwhelming, immersive experience, the vibrations echoing through the stone and into the very bones of the participants. This was ancient psychoacoustics, a deliberate use of sound frequency to induce altered states of awareness during ceremonies. It was a technology of the spirit, using the physics of vibration to facilitate what was believed to be communication with the ancestral world or to achieve a deeper communal trance. The builders understood that architecture was not just about space but about atmosphere. They engineered environments that engaged all the senses, crafting experiences that could unite a community in a shared, transformative moment, binding them together through the visceral power of collective ritual. Perhaps the most baffling commonality is the repeated appearance of advanced mathematical concepts. The constant of pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, is elegantly encoded in the proportions of the Great Pyramid. Across the sea, the builders of Stonehenge arranged their blue stones in a circle that also reflects a sophisticated understanding of circular geometry and perimeter measurements. The golden ratio, a special number approximately equal to 1.618, appears in the layout of everything from Greek temples to the art of the Renaissance, but its fingerprints may also be found in much older sites. This was not a formal mathematics of equations and textbooks. It was a geometry of harmony discovered through observation and an innate sense of balance. They found these ratios in the spiral of a nautilus shell, the branching of a tree, and the proportions of the human body, recognizing them as fundamental principles of a beautiful and ordered universe. By embedding these natural ratios into their greatest constructions, they were not just building structures, they were creating microcosms, mirroring the perfect order of the cosmos here on Earth, and in doing so, they touched upon a universal truth that different minds in different eras all independently discovered. This collective wisdom represents a lost chapter in the story of human knowledge. It was a system born from an intimate, lifelong dialogue with the natural world, a deep understanding of materials, leverage, and seasonal cycles. This allowed a coordinated society to move a 20-ton Moai or lift an 800-ton block at Baalbek. They knew which levers to use, how to manage a workforce across generations, and how to align a monument to last for millennia. Yet this knowledge was fragile. It resided in the minds of master builders and was passed down through apprenticeship and oral tradition. When a society faced a crisis, whether environmental change, social upheaval, or the devastating impact of outside contact, that delicate chain of transmission could be broken. The specific techniques for moving a colossal head at San Lorenzo or the acoustic secrets of the Hypogeum's oracle room could vanish in a single generation, leaving only the silent, majestic result of that knowledge behind. This pattern of discovery and loss challenges our modern assumption of linear progress. It suggests that brilliance is not a permanent possession, but a flame that must be carefully tended, and one that has flickered brightly and sometimes gone out many times throughout our long history. The silent stones of these ancient wonders hold echoes of the societies that raised them, societies that faced a fundamental question of scale and sacrifice. How do you mobilize an entire population for a project that will not be finished in their lifetime? The answer almost always points to a concentration of power, a central authority capable of orchestrating the unimaginable. This could be a divine king, his rule legitimized by the gods, or a powerful priesthood that directed spiritual fervor into physical labor. In some cases, it may have been a communal agreement, a shared belief so strong that it unified disparate groups for a common goal. This centralization was the engine of construction, pulling together the food, materials, and human energy required to turn a vision into a mountain of stone or earth. For the individual worker, the experience varied dramatically across time and place. Some projects were likely acts of deep faith, a voluntary contribution to a temple that would honor the deities and secure the community's future. The sense of pride and shared identity in such an endeavor could have been its own reward, binding people together in a common purpose. Yet other constructions tell a different story. The sheer scale of the workforce for the Great Pyramid of Giza or the legions of the Terracotta Army suggests a system that relied on more than volunteerism. Historical accounts and archaeological evidence point to the use of conscripted labor, where people were compelled to contribute their time as a form of tax or service to the state, and in some instances the hardship of enslaved individuals. This reality underscores a stark social divide, where the grandeur of the monument was built upon a foundation of profound inequality. The economic strain of such undertakings was immense. Diverting thousands of workers from farming or other essential tasks meant the entire society had to support a non-utilitarian project. Vast stockpiles of food were required to feed the laborers, and critical resources like timber for fuel and rollers were consumed at an astonishing rate. This massive investment, while creating an eternal symbol, could also make a civilization brittle. Some researchers theorize that for cultures like the classic Maya or the Rapa Nui, the relentless focus on monumental construction may have diverted attention and resources from environmental challenges or emerging social crises, leaving them more vulnerable when difficult times arrived. So we are left with a complex duality. Were these megastructures the ultimate expression of a unified cultural spirit, a testament to what humanity can achieve when we work together? Or were they primarily tools of social control, monuments to elite power constructed through the toil of the many? The truth likely lies somewhere in between, a delicate and often difficult balance between collective aspiration and the human cost required to fulfill it. This acknowledgement does not diminish their brilliance, but rather completes our picture, allowing us to see these ancient marvels not as sterile ruins, but as the profound and complicated legacies of the people who built them. These silent giants are not relics of a distant, irrelevant past. Their stones and earthworks speak directly to our modern world, offering profound lessons in resilience and collective purpose. They are case studies in thinking across generations, in managing projects whose completion the first builders would never see. This required a shared vision so powerful it could coordinate thousands of people for decades, even centuries. That same model of long-term, unified action is precisely what we need today to confront global challenges like climate change, or to build the next generation of sustainable infrastructure. Our ancestors proved that humanity is capable of extraordinary collaboration when united by a common goal. A reminder that our greatest obstacles can be overcome not by individual genius alone, but by the power of a community moving in concert. They also stand as a humbling corrective to our assumptions of progress. We often label these cultures as primitive, yet they achieved feats we struggle to fully replicate even with our advanced technology. Their deep, intuitive understanding of astronomy, their mastery of local ecology, and their sophisticated engineering without modern tools force us to reconsider what true knowledge means. This legacy urges a greater respect for indigenous wisdom and traditional technologies, recognizing that other ways of knowing hold vital insights for creating a balanced relationship with our planet. The precision of their celestial alignments or the efficiency of their water management systems are not just historical curiosities. They are blueprints from our collective past, offering sustainable solutions we are only now beginning to appreciate. Preserving these sites is more than an academic exercise. It is a global responsibility that connects us to our shared human story. Each site faces threats from looting, urban expansion, and the escalating impacts of a changing climate. When we protect a place like Göbekli Tepe or the Great Serpent Mound, we are not simply saving old stones or piles of earth. We are safeguarding a library of human ingenuity, a repository of knowledge and inspiration for generations yet to come. The very act of rediscovery continues to drive science forward, as new technologies like ground-penetrating radar and satellite imagery reveal hidden chambers and lost cities, proving that our world still holds profound mysteries waiting to be solved. Ultimately, these forgotten megastructures matter because they hold up a mirror to our own potential. They reflect the heights we can reach when ambition is guided by purpose and communal effort. Yet they also whisper a cautionary tale about the delicate balance between grand visions and the resources required to sustain them. They challenge us to build a future that is not only technologically advanced, but also wise, a future where our monuments are not just testaments to power, but to a deeper, more enduring harmony. This journey across millennia reveals a shared human signature written in stone and earth. Our ancestors were not primitive wanderers struggling for survival. They were master observers of the stars, brilliant engineers of their environment, and profound visionaries who sought to shape their world with purpose and breathtaking precision. The recurring patterns are undeniable, a deep-seated human impulse to find meaning in the cosmos and carve a permanent mark upon the world. We see this in the celestial computers of Stonehenge, tracking the sun's eternal journey, and in the subterranean sanctuaries of Malta, where sound itself was harnessed as a spiritual tool. We find it in the mathematical intelligence encoded within the Great Pyramid and the communal ambition that raised the mounds of North America. These were not random acts of construction. They were deliberate projects to create order from chaos, to connect the human spirit to the divine, and to build a legacy that would whisper to the future. Yet these achievements also present us with a complex duality, a balance between brilliant collaboration and the profound social costs that such ambition can demand. They remind us that the drive to build the extraordinary is a powerful, double-edged force in the human story. This legacy is not locked in the past. It speaks directly to our modern era of skyscrapers and space stations, challenging us to consider the purpose behind our own grand projects. Are we building for vanity or for a deeper collective good? The silent testimony of these ancient giants encourages us to look at our world with fresh eyes, to question the established timelines of history, and to rediscover the enduring power of human creativity when it is fueled by shared belief. We would love to hear which of these forgotten wonders resonated most deeply with you. Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this exploration, subscribe for more journeys into the hidden chapters of our past. The story of human ambition is far from over, and the next mystery is always waiting to be uncovered.